You
I'm sorry
recording?
about yesterday. I apologize. I went to tour David Simchas and that sort of whatever. Okay.
It wasn't good? You didn't have a good time?
No, it's not going to have a good time, but I was without this learning status.
Rabbi Miller would be very sad.
I'm very sad.
All right, I'll try to behave tonight.
Okay, we're over here. I tried looking at this. I read it a few times. Not getting it. It's not going through, but on page 107. When you consult your good common sense, Yorcha Ladas, he'll teach you that you're making a fundamental error. In Posum Acharei Hadvarim Hatzrichim L'Nafshka, if you forsake those things that you really need for your neshama, the Yidiyas Torah. You have to know Torah. For example, you have to know Torah. I'm not sure how you read this line. And you won't hold on to the Torah alone outside of all the Chachmas. Toivad, because you lose everything. The beginning of this piece was the ninth challenge was worldly pleasures, he called it. Take it easy. But then he got and get involved in all kind of things. So he says here, nothing will help you in Hashem's eyes. Nothing will help you to find favor in the eyes of Hashem by anything that you were busy with. Let's say you were busy with your car, driving around, sightseeing. All these things will not make you more favored in the eyes of Hashem. Zulasa, only that, to know the word of Torah. The Navi says, the Navi here is Moshe Rabbeinu. And Vayikra, don't walk in the statues of the nations whom I send away from before you. It was astrology and similar forms of study which they considered a very important science. He says in those days it was a very big school of thought. This may seem ridiculous to us, but there are things today that are just as ridiculous. Okay, in his days, evolution, newspapers are full of such garbage. The government spends millions of dollars on expeditions to Mars to find if there's life there. Someday people laugh at them. They really do. How crazy the whole nation was to believe that there are people on Mars and they spend millions of tax dollars to investigate that why. Foretelling which times are the most I don't know, to do certain things.
Is the concept of, just to on whatever, is the concept of actual Martians or life on other planets, is that like against the Torah, or do we not necessarily care?
What do you say, Rabbi Ganowski?
I don't know if we necessarily care. I imagine, the purpose of it's Klal Yisrael, so what do they have to do with Klal Yisrael, the Martians or anybody else like that?
Right, I'm not saying they would have their own version of Torah. I'm just saying, we don't necessarily care about the Goyim.
We don't really. I don't think we really care that
much. Okay, so
I think I once heard that Ramosha Feinstein said that there's no life anywhere else because it's not mentioned anywhere in the Torah.
Okay.
But he can make that statement. I certainly can't. There's lots of Torah I haven't seen yet. But okay, but Roganovsky's saying it's right, and Va'inun, matters of telling by the times of the seasons, Vakisum, forms of enchantment, V'chomine Hakish of sorcery. But then it's similar to all that religious Mishpatim to inquire what the opinions of the stars. But this was like a science that they had. Shama Kosov, as the pasuk says, these nations that you're inheriting their lands from them. They listen to time calculators and magic workers. And you means us, Hashem has not made your portion so. And look, he says an important thing here, right? Your portion is not to pay attention to such things. Again, to us, it seems superfluous. These things are nothing. But every era has its foolish ideas. Every generation has its Yetzirah, its Avodah Zarah. So a Jew has to fight back against all the blandishments of public opinion and know that they are a waste of time and false. Everyone talks today about the kids are going off the derech, but the truth is they've been doing it for a long time.
People going after there for a long time?
Yeah. I mean, certainly since the emancipation, since Napoleon, they opened up the ghettos. There's been different things that attracted from Jews, to talk on whether it was isms, whether it was they say, in the early years of the Medina, there wasn't a family in Meisham that didn't have a kid that went off to there. They were busy with the Haganah and the Lechi. There's always something. We have to also just.
But off of derech, or just not Hasidish?
No, off the derech. Just have to be aware that every generation has its what's cool, what's important in the world, in quotation marks. And it's very attractive. We want to be in, we don't want to be different. We want to be, this is what's important. Our generation that I grew up, but I guess it's still true, is even the sports. It's like, and it's really, if you use your seichel, it's really nothing. It's a bunch of people playing games. They're making a lot of money. That's true. So they're doing for themselves something quite good. But the fact, and there's all kind of Torahs and psychological things also why we feel such a need to relate to the games. And my team, like I always tell the guys, your team, like you never met the guys. You happened by mistake, you were born in the same. They weren't even born in New York, let's say, but I'm a Yankee fan because the Yankees hired them. These players aren't necessarily even from New York, right? But since I grew up in New York, I'm a Yankee fan.
So it's actually very interesting, though, this idea of what is the pull of sports? Why do people get so enthralled about it? And it's the idea of tribe, of being a part of something, being part of something bigger than yourself, which is actually a very Jewish concept. And so we just have to direct it towards the Yiddishkeit side. Right. That's it, like building the tribe that we are.
I agree with you, right? I'm just saying that's like a big, I'm not going to call it a Yetzirah and it's like big Averis. I'm not talking about Averis, we're talking about waste of time and waste of direction and waste of, and all of that. So I'm just saying every generation has its thing, and that's what he's saying. So Jew has to fight it back against all the blandishments of public opinion and know that they are all a waste of time and false. Even today, there's a whole crop of tarot card advisors and spiritual psychic advisors, and many fools patronize them. Okay. Says the Navi. It's interesting, it keeps quoting the Navi when we're talking about Chumash. There shouldn't be among you anyone who passes the sun through the fires or make enchantments. The guy used to build a fire on both sides of a road, and a priest would lead a child between the two fires. He wasn't burnt, he just passed through it. It was like a confirmation. But if a dude did this, he transgressed a very serious avera. In the same verse, it says, "Shekrisim kusamim." Someone who makes enchantments. In some cases, the Gentiles even burnt their sons in the fire. The Hismik Mavir B'nai she compared passing the child through the fire. This is Moilach al Kaisim Ksamim. To tell you Shakaisim that a person makes enchantments and believes in it. Ksamim, magic, sorcery, I don't know. Soni Yitzhakash Baruch Hu, the reason the Torah wrote it together with this Avodah Zarah of Moilach was to teach us that someone who believes in those ksamim is hated by Hashem, someone who passes the child through the fire. And he's just as despised by Hashem. The Navim spoke at length in many places in Tanakh to abominate this. We don't have to quote their words. For some, as they're well known. The Torah already said, there's no enchantment in Yaakov, like Kesem be Yisrael. Vanavi Amar and Yirmiyahu, Kiyoytza Kol, like Yaakov. This is not like this is the portion of Yaakov. Kiyoytza Kol, because Hashem is the one who created everything. I'm not sure where he's going with all of this, so I'm just reading and translating. It will be useful, especially by doing this. Person makes himself far away from trust in Hashem, and giving over his identity in the hands of Hashem. When I put my trust in these things, all these type of psychic things that people used to do, so besides the Etzam Avera, you're also removing your bitachon from Hashem. You're placing your trust in other things. And the desire for the decisions Hashem makes. The Mishpat, anyone imagines that the stars or any of these things have any kind of power at all over us. So he's without a doubt worshiping other forces in addition to Hashem. Shituf. It's an Isser, attributing powers to others, other things, other ideas, besides HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
It's actually interesting. I was listening to a shir from Rav Ludwig, and saying there's the idea that when people feel like they're earning money, they feel like they did it, as opposed to, I think we spoke about this idea in the past, but he was actually talking there the difference, just to kind of touch back this idea between, it's like, well, in Israel, like Hashem mefarneses, and I have to go and be reliant on Hashem versus being reliant on myself. And there was like it was talking about like the Gashmiut level or the Tuma level, that kind of being infracted on that. So I think it's very relevant for what you're saying, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. He goes on to this again. I mean, his point that he's trying, I think, to bring out is tremendous pressures from the outside world, to believe, to accept, to do things that are not aligned with the Torah. They deny Hashem entirely. If a person says, a question, Gideon, he also looked for signs before he went to war, but it made all kinds of signs. Kinir move on hakasav, as it would seem from the plain meanings of the pasuk in Shoftim. It says, if Ayova Gideon bin Ish Mesaper Re'eu Chaloim, Gideon came and behold, a man was telling his fellow a dream. People are talking about a dream. Vayhi Ishmoya Gideon Es Mispar Achaloim Shivroi Vayishtachu. When Gideon heard the story of the dream and the interpretation, he bowed down. Gideon had a certain sign given to him to recognize certain things. Again, we see by means of certain signs that we can recognize what we could do. So why not use the stars? So how do you answer that? You see that Gideon did do something similar. Noshavlai, says the Sefer. Well, Hashem commanded him to do so. It wasn't a sign that he himself used to interpret for a certain purpose. Hashem said, when you see this and this, it means this and this for you. It was part of a nevuah. Hashem knew that Gideon didn't have much trust in himself to go to battle against a superior enemy. He considered himself insufficient to fight the war. And Hashem was happy to see that. Because Hashem was happy that he was humble and didn't feel he had the power. Hashem gave him a sign to kickstart him off, that he should have that confidence. He's going to war, he needs confidence. Therefore, it's not called divination, it's called nevuah.
That's a very fine line.
Yeah, it is. It's Hashem's word. He told them, I promise you, if you see this and this sign, you're going to conquer. That's no proof at all to things that people themselves interpret as. Look, I don't have the sugya in front of me. I don't know the sugya, but what the Chovos that Hashem told them, when this and this happens, then it's time to go to war. So that's from Hashem. That's not called attributing signs to things that happen.
Right, but I think it behooves us that we need to look, everything that happens to us, which is not necessarily by design, it's like, what lesson can we take out of that? So like everything really is a sign from Hashem, as long as it's not rooted in avodah zarah, I presume. So like, yeah. So I'm saying like it's not necessarily unique to that particular situation. So maybe he had a direct saying, if you see the sun doing this, if the sun is blue, then go ahead and you got it. But in general, if we ignore, like example, I'm please God, I'm going to go up north next week for a couple of days, and tonight I got a puncture in my tire. Thank God that happened, because that way I can make sure the car is in good working order before making that long trip. So it's like, what are we seeing? What happens to us? What signs we pick up, and then what is Hashem saying to us through those means, and how we can optimize rather than accepting them as happenstance. Again, as long as it's not rooted specifically in avodah zarah, then we should be able to take every sign and kind of work with that. No.
But like you said, it's a fine. Yeah, go ahead, Roganowski.
There have to be real signs. They're not just superstitions.
Right. I mean, there's lavim in the Torah, Ron. So you're right, but there are lavim in the Torah about certain signs. A black cat crosses your way and things like that. I mean, there's psukim. You quoted them, right? So, yeah, absolutely right. We're meant to learn everything that happens to us. There's no mikra, but yet the Torah says that certain things are not meant to be interpreted, as a sign. There's not a good time to go out on different things with the stars. And if you argue further, another story, Yonasan went after some type of nichush. Kanira mimama kosev, it says in Shmuel, v'yomer Yonasan anachnu oivim el hanoshim. Yonasan said, we're coming close to these people, meaning we're about to attack a certain town, and wanted to know if we should continue or desist. Right? Yonasan wanted some type of sign. Should he make battle? V'nigla aleim, and will appear. And if this and this will happen, it's a sign we should keep on going. If it won't happen, it's a sign we have to go back. Right? So Yonasan seemed to be doing something like that. It's a sign for us. So we see that Yonasan relied on some omen that he interpreted. Noshim, says the Chovos haLevavos, we should answer. That's not a proof, because it says before, Shekiven libe b'tefillah Hashem, that he was mechavin with tefillah, he davened to Hashem, Sheyirei Yeshuas Yisrael Yodei, that Hashem should reveal what he's going to bring, his salvation to you. So he davened to Hashem, that Hashem should send him some type of sign. And that's, what you're saying, Ron. It wasn't something that happened
haphazardly.
And you say, oh, that's a sign. I shouldn't go to war. No, he davened to Hashem, please send me a sign, right? And then when whatever happened, he understood that that was a sign from Hashem. That was a result from his feeling. It was a sign from Hashem. It wasn't just that he hadn't davened and just something happened and you decide, okay, right? Let's say you would say, oh, I got a flat tire. That means I shouldn't go up north, right? That, that's just making up something. That's just.
1 second.
He asked Hashem, please show me that I'm going to win. He requested signs from Hashem. So that's different. But Yonasan said to his helper, perhaps Hashem will do for us. Hashem has nothing could stop Hashem, whether there's a lot of people against him or a few people. So maybe he'll give us a sign to show us he's going to help us. When they said Hashem will do for us, it showed that the sign was from Hashem. Mare, it showed that he prayed to Hashem to show him a sign. He bestirred his mind in tefillah, that Hashem should encourage him. And give him strength against his enemies. Came to Yodabar Kavanos had paper. Since Hashem knows good intentions. And his intention in this tefillah and asking for a sign was for the benefit of Klal Yisrael. Hashem answered, and he in fact gave over the enemies into his hands. He did not conquer due to the sign. He conquered because Hashem listened to his tefillahs. And that's why he was the one who caused a complete victory over all the Plishtim. Therefore, it's not considered nichosh. He davened to Hashem. For himself and for Klal Yisrael. As it says that he said, nothing prevents Hashem from rescuing. So when Hashem grants a person a sign in return for the praise, that's not called nichosh. When Eliezer said, the girl comes out, I'll ask her to give me water, and she'll say, you should drink in your animals, right? That's not nichosh. He asked Hashem to give him a sign. He davened to Hashem. When you ask Hashem for the sign, that's not considered nichosh at all. So what does it mean that we should ignore the stars? He continues and he says, V'im Yaimar, if you'll say, we see Shashainim Zechainim. 1 minute, okay. Doesn't look like it, but okay. So Rishainim Zechainim of Rach, we see that the Rishainim Haimaganim Yishanimna Milimur Chachmas HaKachavim. Despise those who refrain from studying the wisdoms of the stars, Hamazolas, constellation. Ba'amram, Gemara and Shabbos, Kol HaYidei Alach Chashay B'Tkufay Hamazolas. Someone is capable of calculating the seasons and the constellations, and he doesn't calculate. Allah V'Kosavayim about him, the Pasuk says, V'Yisporel Hashem Lo Yabitu, that they don't look at the work of Hashem. They didn't see the works of his hands. So you see, it's a mitzvah to study the stars. V'omru, Chazal told us, from where do we know it's a mitzvah for a man to learn how to calculate the seasons and the constellations? Shneimar, it says, Ushmartem vasisem, ki chochmaskem v'naskam le'nei ha'amim, it's a wisdom before the eyes of the nation. What's the wisdom that the nations will recognize for? Guess it's all the Gemara and Shabbos. So we have a tradition from the earliest days, exactly what was the length of the month, the length of the luni, and so on. So our calendar never needed corrections, except from time to time we added a month. And that wasn't that we needed, that we made a mistake. That was because the mitzvah is to align the lunar year with the solar year. The non-Jews, the Havdalah, had trouble. They changed the entire calendar from one to the other. Over history, they had to make adjustments. We have the Soida Eva, the secret of calculation. So when the Goyim see how perfect our calendar is, they look at us with admiration. So why should we ignore the stars? So we'll answer. Was up. They did that according to the command of the Navi. As it says, Su Mari Menechem, lift up your eyes on high, and let's look up. Urimi Bar and see who created this. He brings forth by the number their hosts. They wanted to study the stars to recognize the greatness of Hashem. We're not using them for divination. We're not using them because we said they have power and to do things, based on that. But to see how everything works according to calculations. Everything is precise in the world of stars. We want to see Hashem. It's an expression. We see it as the greatness of Hashem. The Divrei David ki ever shamach and David Melch says, until when I see your skies, matzayetz vasecha, the work of your fingers, yoreach v'kachom shekananta, the moon and stars that you establish, ulam zeurak mitzad habachina babarum. It's only one of our duties of studying the created things. Kidei livokach, in order to be more convinced, yesh boiver, that there's a creator. Yidei kol who's able to do everything, kol yochel. He knows everything. Shabarim Kulam, who created all of these bodies, heavenly bodies. Yesh Mayin, out of nothing. Puts them in order. He arranges them in the very best way. The wisest arrangements. Like we say by Meir, he opens the gates of heaven with wisdom and cycles times with understanding. The obligation that Hashem said that we spend time studying this is only because of this. We gotta stop somewhere because there's no pauses here. So we'll stop here. And Mr. Hashem will try to complete something by tomorrow.
Okay.